of the deal. Still, you have to wonder what it means. Will it take America closer to war with Iran? And if it does, are we prepared to fight that war? Or does it make lasting peace more certain? Michael Anton was a national security official in the Trump administration. He's just re-entered the private sector, and he joins us tonight. Michael Anton, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is
so
great.
There's certainly no defense of the deal, which I took as a matter of faith was negotiated in bad faith and not on behalf of American voters. But you got to kind of wonder, here Ambassador Bolton goes into the administration, and almost immediately there's a missile strike against Syria, and the Iran deal is scuttled. He has said repeatedly that he would like conflict with Iran. So the question is, are we moving toward that?
I think just the opposite. In fact, what the Iran deal did is it gave the Iranian regime a windfall, first a cash windfall and then a business windfall, by lifting sanctions, by allowing countries that have long wanted to do business with Iran back in. Germany, especially, the UK, France, all started enacting commercial contracts with Iran. We've seen the Iranian GDP go up, and Iran's spending on ballistic missiles, on terror financing, on destabilizing activities, on continuing wars in Yemen and Syria, all of that rose since the Iran deal went through. By reimposing sanctions, which is what getting out of the deal does, it will reduce the amount of resources that the Iranian regime takes in, and it will reduce their ability to spread mayhem and chaos, and it will reduce conflict and the likelihood of war.
Conflict with the United States? I mean, because I think maybe at the core of this is the question, I understand that Iran is a rogue nation and doesn't like the United States, but if you were to list a sort of hierarchy of nations that threaten us, would it be on that list?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the top nations on that list.
How many acts of Iranian-sponsored terror have we had in this country in the last, say, 20 years?
In the last 20 years? Well, there were, in this country, harder to say, but against U.S. interests that the Iranians have either backed or been involved in, there have been many. They blew up a dormitory in Saudi Arabia, the Khobar Towers. It's a famous case in 1996 that killed almost 100 Americans. They probably, we believe, trained and maybe even provided the explosives to the al-Qaeda terrorists that bombed the embassies in Tanzania and Kenya. We know the 9/11 Commission showed that they facilitated transit for the 9/11 hijackers. Bin Laden's own son lived in Iran for a time being. Documents that were captured when bin Laden's home was raided in Pakistan that the Obama administration refused to release because it would paint a very dark picture of Iran and harm the possibility of getting the deal. The Trump administration finally released, and it shows Osama bin Laden on the record saying to his followers, you got to work with the Iranians. They hate the Americans as much as we do. This is a necessary and useful alliance, even if we have our differences. They're the great Satan, and we basically agree with that. We can work out our own differences later.
That's a compelling data point. I would agree with that. I think it's really interesting. It hasn't received enough attention. McMaster, though, was for keeping the Iran deal, correct? Am I misstating that? No,
I think you're misstating that. I think that there was a consensus in the administration that the deal was bad. We would give our European allies a reasonable chance to fix it. The president agreed with this, and the president said it in his January statement. If people can come together, if these nations can come together, fix the flaws, he'd be open to staying in. What you saw the action here today is that that didn't happen. And look, I would say to the critics who say that President Trump was always eager to get out of the Iran deal, he certainly was, I think, eager to get out of it or fix it. But it's telling that we're now, 16 months into this administration, and he didn't do it on day one.
No, you're absolutely right.
He gave every chance to all parties to come together and see if he could make this thing better. And I think 16 months is plenty of time. It didn't happen.